Hi, and welcome to the debut of The Green Scene with Marianne DiMascio. This is a show about green issues, sustainability, and I decided to start this show because as the chair of a local sustainable group, Green Hansen, and as a efficiency advocate, I get a lot of questions about, Marianne, what would you do? How do you start recycling? What do you do about composting, gardening? And I thought it would be great to have a show where we look at some of the issues that you have, some of the concerns, questions about green issues, how to be sustainable, and have a show where we ask those questions and we try to find some answers. So, welcome. And we're going to start off by giving you a glimpse at some of the different areas that we'll cover on the show. So here's a look. And here we are out at the clothesline with another way for you to be green. So now we're looking at ways that you can save energy and save money. And here at this clothesline, that just happens to be a little short given the snow we're at, you can come out in the middle of the spring and the summer, even in the winter if you want, hang up your clothes, not use the energy from the dryer. Other things you can do are caulking in your house with a caulk gun to get those spots where the air is escaping, and programmable thermostats so that when you're not home, you're not wasting energy. So we'll be looking at ways that you can save money, save energy, and we'll also be looking for your questions. So we'll be interviewing some people right here on this show. Here we are for the local food, farming, and composting topic. And we're right here in the garden. As you can see, right behind me are raspberry bushes. And the garden is large and big. At the moment, it's white, but we hope in just a few short months it will be full of green. And beside me right here, I have a shovel. And for those of us in the Boston area who have been shoveling and shoveling, we just hope that the next time we pick this shovel up, it will be to go into the earth and not into more snow. So what will we be doing in this? We are interested in helping people who are looking at any kind of gardening, from a small little window box to a big garden. Growing your own food is such an amazing thing to do. And we'd like to help you do that. We'd like to have people know about the community gardens in the area. We have one right here in Hanson, right next to the new food pantry. The food pantry is looking into having some classes where they can have people who are coming to the food pantry garden at the community garden. So many options. Organic farm that we have here in town, selling food. We have many different people doing local eggs. So there's so many opportunities here. We'd love to walk you through some of these. So anyone from a novice gardener to an expert gardener can think about how to eat locally. And now on to renewable energy. Solar, wind. People have a lot of questions about this. We've had people asking, should I do this? Does it make sense? Should I lease the panels? Should I buy the panels? Do I get tax credits? Is it worth it? Lots of questions to go over, and we'd like to be doing that and sharing all that information with you. Right behind me at our house, you can see solar panels that happen to be for hot water. They are, as you can expect, covered by snow, but these panels provide hot water in addition to our electric hot water heater. And we'll be talking about these kind of things. People have a lot of questions. It's not for everyone, but it is a possibility. And zeroing in right now also on a wood stove, you can get some really efficient wood stoves. That is a renewable resource in some ways because trees can come back, but it's not the same as solar and wind. Okay, now we're on to green spaces. Does anyone know where we are right now? Have you ever been to this gem of Hanson and gem of the South Shore? Do you recognize this kiosk in these woods behind me? Here we are at Camp Kewaunee, where trails abound, and we are part of the Bay Circuit Trail, which goes for all around Boston from the South Shore all the way up to the North Shore. This is one of many trails that are in Hanson. You can go down to Burge Pond, you can go in the forest, the town forest. We have the bogs that are newly purchased by the town. We have so many green spaces out here, and each show we'll try to get out and show people what it's like. We'll even plan some walks to go together. So we hope that this will inspire people to get out in the outdoors and take advantage of what's here. And here we are ready to talk about reduce, reuse, recycle with our blue recycling bin. And we're in front of the Hanson Town Hall because So much of what we do and what they do has an impact on reducing, reusing, and recycling. For example, Hansen recently instituted pay as you throw with these orange bags. Is it working? Other social communities have done it too. Is it working for them? Have you reduced? What about water conservation? There are policies in place for that too. So we'd like to be asking questions and giving answers and having you join us as we look at this. And I'm here with Green Scene, not doing this show just for me, but doing it for the neighbors and community, because many of you have questions, have asked me in the past, and that's one of the purposes. So I'm here today with Dana Edwards of Hansen. And Dana, you've heard about the show and what we hope to do. What's something you'd like to learn more about?
Well, we have an 1843 farmhouse, and it's not the most efficient house as far as energy and things like that. So we'd be interested in how to make it more efficient, as well as, what are some building materials that are more green, and solar, things like that.
So I hope you enjoyed that clip. We had a lot of fun doing it out in those big old snowbanks. And today we're in the studio, and the topic for today is lighting. If any of you have been to a store lately to see the array of choices that you have, you'll understand why we decided to pick lighting today. I talked to a friend this morning who said she was at a store and she saw a light that was on sale, and then looked over in the actual aisle and just was overwhelmed by all the choices. And in the end, she put the bulb down and she decided to walk out of the store. So we hope in this show to look at some of the choices that you have and demystify those choices. So we will have a guest in a little bit. Becky Coletta will be joining us to talk about some of the issues that she has with lighting, and hopefully I'll be able to answer a lot of those questions that you might have also. So starting off, I'd like to just mention that in the last few years, the traditional bulbs that you're used to buying, the incandescent bulbs, have been phased out. Those bulbs are the typical ones that have been around since Edison invented them a long time ago, about 125 years or so. And they're not very efficient. Only about 10% of the energy used to light those lights goes into lighting your surroundings. 90% of that light is wasted as heat. So those have been phased out, and there have been new choices that have come in that you can use. So in front of us, we have some choices here that I wanted to show, and we'll be talking about these. So first of all, we have what's called the halogen incandescents. I actually had this at my house, and they actually come and they look just like the regular old incandescents, and this one just happens to be a clear model that I had purchased. So these are about 30% more efficient than the ones that you have been used to in the past. They'll save energy, and they last about a year or so. Over here, we have two examples of what are called CFLs. They're called compact fluorescent lamps. And we have two samples here, so I'll show you one here. Just different sizes. There are a lot of different choices in sizes. There are some that have outer coverings on these, so they look very much like the old bulbs. And these, compared to the traditional incandescent bulbs, are about 75% more efficient. They last between 5 and 7 years. And over here, we have the newest of the bunch. Whoops. We have the newest of the bunch, and these are the LEDs. And the LEDs are 75 to 80% more efficient than the old traditional bulbs. They last, and this is the big thing, they last about 20 years. So you can put one of these in a light bulb when your child is born, and when they go off to college, that will be about the time that you need to change it. So there are amazing savings on these, one, because they last so long, and two, because they're so efficient. So the question is, what do you do and how do you choose these bulbs? It used to be that you would just walk in the store, you go grab your 100 watt or your 40 watt, 60 watt, and walk out of the store. And now you have a lot of different choices. So I'd like to show you some of the labels that have come out to help you. And some of the things that you're used to doing are buying bulbs according to wattage. And the wattage is how much power it uses. So as we have all these new efficient bulbs, it doesn't make sense to buy them anymore according to how much energy it's using, because the energy is varying widely. Some are 30% more efficient, some are 75% or 80% more efficient. So what we're doing now, what the companies are doing now, is having people look at lumens. It's not a term that's catching on really quickly, but essentially it means how bright is it? So our old, right, these are mostly 60 watts here, the equivalent of 60 watts. So the old 60-watt bulbs are about 800 lumens. So when you go to the store and you see the labels, you would look on the first line. Every new bulb has to have something that will have lumens on it. So you'd look and say, what are the lumens? If it's around 800, that's about the equivalent of a 60-watt bulb. If it's around 1600, that's around the equivalent of an old 100-watt bulb. So there are labels on all these to help you decide what to buy. Secondly, and I think this is where we'll probably have our guest come in today to talk about some of the costs and how you decide what to buy. We'll be looking at some of the costs, how expensive are these bulbs, and how much do you save? And one of the reasons we are talking about this today is because you can save a lot of energy and you can save a lot of money, and you also can have an impact on the environment, because less energy you use, that means the less energy that has to be produced at power plants that are spewing pollution and are not good for our health and the environment. So we'll be back in just a minute with our guest, Becky Coletta, to talk about some of the issues that many of you might have too when you're out picking light bulbs.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
And welcome back to The Green Scene with Marianne DiMascio. And here we are with Becky Coletta, who's agreed to join us today and talk lighting. Thanks for coming on, Becky.
Thanks, Marianne. I'm happy to hear something new that I may not know already.
All right. Well, we'd like to talk about lighting and find out what is important to you. So what have you, what's going on with lighting in your house? What kind of lights do you have?
We're all over the place. I mean, we have everything. We have CFLs. We still have some old incandescents. We have LEDs. You know, we keep trying to switch it up, but it's really all over the place.
Okay. And have you been out to the store lately to see any of these, to go and buy? What's your experience been when you've gone to a store, one of the big boxes or a local hardware store?
I'm one of those people who walks into Lowe's and says, how could there be so many choices? I mean, first you have to decide if you need a regular light or a 40 watt or a 100 watt. Now you also have to decide if you want a halogen or an CFL, and it's just, it gets very confusing. The last time I was in there, I just wanted to walk out.
Okay. And I think that's a very common experience. So why don't we look at some of these and maybe answer your questions. Is there a question that you have about what kind of lighting to use somewhere in your house?
So part of it is, I'll start with something that's really easy for me right now. It's freezing cold outside, and we put one of those great new CFLs in our garage, and it seems like it never lights up in time to be useful.
That's a good point. So here we have, these are the CFLs, and CFLs do not work very well in cold weather. So the places you want to use these type of bulbs is and spots where they're not subject to cold weather. So you don't want to put them outside in a garage, especially in this year with this freezing cold weather, they won't go on. So you want to use them inside. And then the other thing about CFLs is you don't want to use them in a room where you turn lights on and off a lot, because the process of turning the lights on and off wears them down and they don't last as long. So if you have a bathroom, you really don't want a CFL in there because that light gets switched on and off all the time. So it will make it will just shorten its life.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because
there you go. You
I
learned
think I have
something new.
CFL in my pantry, and that's one of those rooms that at certain times of the day you go in and out and it clicks
Right.
on and off.
Right.
And then
and it will still work, but it just won't last as long. So they're better. What you may want to try, depending on how much energy you want it to use. So this, as I said, this is an incandescent, and they're called halogen. And the only reason they're called halogen is because it has a halogen gas inside.
Okay.
So it's an incandescent. It's just like the old bulbs. It's 30% more efficient. And normally they're the same frosted color. I just happened to buy one that was clear. So this might be something you could use in a pantry. As I said, it's not quite as efficient. That's about 30% more efficient than the old ones. Mm-hmm. But this, the LED, can really be used in any spot where you would have used an old incandescent. They're dimmable. They're 75 to 80% more efficient. And if you have a spot that's hard to get to, like some people have stairs where they have a really high light, this is the best thing in the world because it's really hard to replace those lights. And if you don't have to do it for 20 years, you don't have to find that ladder and climb up and replace that one. So that's a good choice also for a hard to get spot.
So as you're talking about longevity and efficiency, I'm thinking, why would I buy a halogen? Like, what would be a reason to buy a halogen instead of just the LED? Is it the initial cost, or?
I think it is. Most people would gravitate toward these because of the initial cost. These cost, I just looked at some research last night, and these are about $1.25 to $1.50 each. If you buy a 2-pack, they're $3.
Okay.
These CFLs, they really vary because there's so many different choices in the CFLs. And they can go from about $1.50 to $2.50 to $3, and there's some of the dimmable ones are up to more like $4 and $5.
Okay.
And then this right here, the LED, is actually the price has come down. I bought one a couple of years ago. It was $25.
For one light.
Right, for one light. So not a lot of people were buying it, but they're getting more popular. They will quickly overtake the halogen incandescents and the CFLs. They're just really hitting the market. And the price has dropped, and that's part of the reason. This, I believe I bought this one for $9.97, but I saw them online for $6.97. So it's just getting to a price where it's more manageable. A lot of people have hesitated to buy these because they're expensive, but there are rebates, and the rebates are already in the purchase price. Okay. So the consumer doesn't have to worry about the rebates. You walk in and it's already a cheaper price. So $6.97 is expensive for a light bulb, but it works out in the long run.
And what about like in a lamp, just a reading lamp? Which provides the best light in a reading lamp?
You know, part of it depends on what you like.
Okay.
So if you look at the labels that I took out earlier, the labels, all of the labels have something on there called light appearance. And it goes from warm to cool, and it gives you a temperature.
Okay.
So it's a range. So the old incandescents were about 2,700. And so these two right here are 2,700. This is also, and actually they're all about 2,700. So that gives you the warmer light. If you like the really bright daylight, the white light, and tending toward blue, you would buy one that has a higher temperature. It's Kelvin temperature, so it will say 5,000 K. So that's if you want the really bright light. Maybe if you're doing, it's a workshop where you want that bright light, you would look for the ones that have a cooler light. But to sit at home, to be cozy and be reading a light, you probably want around 2,700, 3,000. And when these fluorescents first came out, people did not like them because they had a bluish tinge.
Okay.
And fortunately, they've worked on these, and now they have some of the same color temperature that the incandescents do.
Okay. And what about like the recessed lights in my kitchen?
Recessed lights
That are dimmable.
Okay. So the dimmable part, I'll say something about these dimmable.
Okay.
So these dim just like the old incandescents because they work the same. The CFLs are getting better dimmable, but a lot of people don't like them because they have a little bit of a flicker.
Okay.
And then the LEDs are dimmable also.
Dimmable with no flicker.
With no flicker, they're a little bit more expensive.
Okay.
The dimmable are a little bit more expensive. So anyway, I'll say in the kitchen, you don't want to use the CFLs in the recessed lighting. They're not appropriate for that because of the way the heat is. So you don't want to use these alone. However, and I'll show you these here, this is the type of lights that you can use in recessed lighting. I'll show you one right here. And these are LEDs. And this whole box, again, their prices are coming down. This whole box, I believe, was about $12.
$12 for
Really,
all four?
for 4 of these. So what's happening every month on your utility bill, you're paying a small amount, which is a charge that is supposed to go toward, which does go toward energy efficiency.
Yeah.
So the utilities are trying to reduce energy use because if they can reduce energy use, they don't have to build another power plant.
And that's expensive.
And that's really expensive. So it's much cheaper to have energy efficiency. So they're trying to encourage you to use less energy, and you're paying for it in your monthly bill, which usually I think it's about $2 or $3 in your monthly bill. And they use that money to then try to help people become more energy efficient. So they'll come out to your house. Have you ever had Mass Save come out to your house?
I did, but it was about 3 years ago. And so really the only choice at that point was incandescent or CFL.
Okay.
So you didn't have the choices of the halogen incandescent or the LED really at that point.
Okay, so now they do have those choices. I haven't done it myself for a few years either, so I don't know. They'll give you more efficient light bulbs, and I don't know if they're giving out any LEDs. But I do know that the Mass Lighting catalog, Mass Save Lighting catalog, if you go online for this, it's masssave.com/store. They have very good deals on lighting and power strips and different things that you can buy. So I highly recommend going here and also calling Mass Save because they'll come out to your house and do a free energy audit. I don't know that everybody knows that, but it's really worthwhile to have that done.
So Marianne, when you were talking about the subsidized price of the recessed lights, that sounded pretty good. But when you were talking about the LED here, that sounded kind of expensive as a startup cost per lamp.
Let's try something. We have a little. I have a little experiment here.
Okay.
So, I have some money here, so we can do a little experiment. I'm giving you $50.
That's a lot of money.
You're giving it back to me,
Okay.
and I'm taking $50.
Okay.
And we're going to see how much it costs over a period of time to use one of these lights.
Okay.
So why don't you pick one?
I'll take the cheap halogen light.
All right, you're taking the cheap halogen. So you're taking this one, and why don't I take an LED? So let's go through a few years. A lot of people don't buy these lights because they look at them and they say, oh my gosh, that's $7, $10, $12.
Yeah.
And say, I don't want to buy a light bulb for that much. But when you look at the cost per year, per month of how much you're paying for those light bulbs, it adds up. So let's take a look.
Okay.
So for these light bulbs, you can buy 2 for $3. One of those light bulbs will last you 1 year. So you're paying $1.50, or every 2 years you're paying $3 for a light bulb.
Okay.
So let's buy our first light bulb. Put our money down.
Should I put down one or
Well,
two?
since it's $1.50, we don't have change. Let's put down $3 for two of them, and that will last you 2 years.
Okay.
And let's put down 5, 6, 7. I saw them last night online for $6.97. So
Okay.
I'll put down 7 for my light bulb.
All right.
Okay, so at the end of the first year, yours is going to cost you about $5.18
To run.
to run your light bulb. And it's an average of about $3 a day.
All
I mean,
right.
3 hours a day of a light. So you're going to pay $5 for your first year of light bulb. And I
Okay.
am paying for my LED $1.69. So again, I don't have change. Maybe after a few years, like 3 years, I'll do $1 less because I don't have change for $1.69. So first year. Okay. So
All right.
second year, you actually have to replace your bulb, but you bought 2 bulbs, so you go up and replace your bulb.
Okay.
I don't have to replace the bulb. And you pay your bill. You pay $5. I pay $2.
Okay.
All right, next year, your bulb's out again. My bulb, I haven't had to replace mine. Let's go. You have to buy your 2 bulbs for $3.
Okay.
And then you pay another $5. And I'm going to pay 2. I think we're getting the hang of this. So let's
Okay.
move a little more quickly because it's almost the end of the show. So you get your light bulb will last, but you do have to get up there and change it. You pay 5. I pay 2. I think we're 4 years in now.
So now I need to buy again?
And you're going to buy another light bulb, 2 light bulbs, $5 more. I'm doing $2.
Okay.
1 more year. You do $5. I do 2. And I think we're about 6 years in. And I have quite a wad of money left. What do you have left?
Not so much. I have enough to make it maybe another year worth of change.
Right, and I have about, I calculated, I still have about $30 yet left. 6 years in, I don't have to buy another light bulb for about 14 years. And you're going to be paying the light bulb, you're going to be paying the $5. This is just one bulb. Most houses have about 30 bulbs. So it really adds up. If the average household replaced 10 lights, it would be about $100 savings per year.
Wow.
In electricity costs. So I'll take my $50 back. And
I'll give it back.
Unless we're going to be wrapping up here. Any last question, Becky, that you have about lighting?
No, it helps to really think about it in terms of some dollars and cents, because it's not just good for the environment. It sounds like it's good for my pocketbook.
Exactly. That's
Thank you.
great. Okay, so last few things I'd like to say. There is some concern about compact fluorescents, that they do have very small amounts of mercury in it, and people have to be careful about disposing of them. You go to the transfer station and there's a special spot to get rid of them, or Home Depot and Lowe's, and a lot of places have a place to dispose of them. But what is happening, and this is a trend, is that we're leapfrogging over the CFLs. People are going directly to LEDs, and they're doing it faster and sooner than anyone had expected. So, and they can do a lot of things. They're actually a computer chip, so you can do all this programming with your LEDs, change the light, change the mood, change the color. So we'll see a lot of exciting things that are coming for lighting. So anything else we have here? Let's see. Just want to say thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You had some great questions. I love talking about lighting. If you see me on the street, ask me questions. And I am starting a Facebook page. It will be called Green Scene with Marianne DiMascio. I'd love to get your questions. I'd love to ask some of you to come on the show with your questions. As you saw in the clip at the very beginning, we're looking at things like recycling and renewables and outdoor spaces and policies. So there's a lot of opportunity to come in here and try some new things. So we'll be here, and I look forward to talking to all of you again and try to keep on doing the green thing. So this is the Green Scene with Marianne DiMascio, and I thank you for joining us, and I hope that we see you back here again. Thank you.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.